AI in Action, a new podcast series from Halldale Group, which looks at how civil aviation, military, and other safety-critical industries are adopting AI in training. In this APATS preview episode, Andy Fawkes is joined by Kevin Verdier, Head of Product at Hinfact.
So I don't think any algorithm can decide whether a pilot is good enough or not.
Cedric Paillard, COO at the Airline Pilot Club.
AI is pretty much the only thing that we can rely on at this point.
And Halldale Group editor, Marty Kauchak.
We're seeing the imperative for data collection for AI across all the three verticals.
AI in Action.
Welcome. My name is Andy Fawkes. I'm Special Correspondent here at Halldale Group. And we are here, all of us here, to help you navigate this fast-moving world of AI for the workforce training for civil aviation, military and wider safety critical industries. So today is more focused on civil aviation, but we are certainly looking across all safety critical industries and sectors. And we're here also in the lead up to APATS, or it's indeed the 21st APATS, which Marty will soon tell us more about, which is coming up. But I'm also delighted to have Marty here, who is the group editor for Halldale. And we've got Cedric Paillard, who's the COO of the Airline Pilot Club. And we have Dr. Kevin Verdier, who's the head of product at Hinfact, which is a company that develops solutions for critical operator training. Hopefully I've got that right. So we've got a great set of speakers today, and I'm sure we're going to have a great discussion. So APATS itself, Marty, for those who maybe not hugely familiar, maybe not civil aviation or not been to APATS before, could you, I believe, I say it's 21st, so it's been in existence a long time. Maybe you could tell us more about it, Marty.
APATS 25 will return to Marina Bay Sands, Singapore, convening August 26th and 27th. Once again this year, we'll have 4 main conference streams, being the pilot, cabin crew, maintenance technician, and approved training organization streams. APATS will also have 2 very important workshops, the AI in training, and again, I'll defer to Cedric to discuss this event further, and also another iteration of the Halldale series for pilot heads of training. And then there will be exhibitors. And I have to admit that for me, spending time in the exhibit floor is as valuable as being in some of our sessions. And we're very pleased today to have Kevin Verdier from Hinfact, one of our APATS 25 exhibitors, to talk a little bit more about his company and what his expectations are going to be for this APATS. What I'll do before I turn it over to Cedric is just maybe tee up the discussion on the first AI for training workshop that we'll have. And Cedric, an observation that I have is that several weeks ago, I read an interview with Bob Jordan, the chief executive at the US-based Southwest Airlines, who was asked the question, how his airline is using AI. And with some good reasons, given Southwest's business model changes, he focused on the use of AI for baggage handling. In the last week, I also read another interview with a airline leader who was asked about the use of his AI at his airline, and he focused primarily on AI for weather forecasting. So Cedric, I'm confident that at APATS 25, we'll talk a little bit more about AI for training. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you at this time to talk about the workshop, please.
Well, thank you very much. This is very interesting because there's a lot of discussion nowadays about AI and in lots of industry. It goes from education, banking, aviation, but every time we talk about aviation, it's usually AI from an operational point of view, or AI for maintenance. There's a lot of project going on around. We counted about 250 projects around aviation in training all around the world. So it's very interesting to see what is being done, but it's not maybe as talked as much as some other AI that are being deployed that have a very strong dollar value associated with it. So the focus of the workshop is to look at what can be done with AI in aviation training. And from there, we derive a few things about, and doing it from a practical point of view. So we encourage everybody that's going to come to the workshop to come in with some ideas of what they want to do in AI, and we'll work ourselves through those ideas in an interactive way, or as much as we can in an interactive way, to see how those projects can actually be implemented, and use some concrete example of what has been done in the past, not only at the Airline Pilot Club, but some others are actually going to be there. And then one aspect of implementing AI, which is very important, is to be in compliance with your regulator, and ESA members will actually be there on stage with us to look at the let's call it the AI governance framework and the AI regulation that needs to be seriously included into the design of an AI project for aviation training. So that's what we're going to do with in a 3 hours workshop, very practical workshop at APATS.
Is it still open for anyone to attend if they want to?
Yeah. I think I mean,
as long as you're
last time I
APATS.
heard is there were some seats still available, and I think what we'll try to do is to spread everybody by table, so everybody will have. It's going to be as much as we can interactive, as much as we can being specific and responding to the need of the audience, obviously. Our plan at the moment is to maybe give a little bit of a base, a framework. There's terms that you can read into the press sometimes, and like ragging and tokenizations and vectoring and all those kind of things that seems like so esoteric and so fancy. So we're going to actually demystify a little bit of this at the beginning, but very quickly we'll go in straight into the regulation to give us a framework as well on that front, and then we'll go and talk about practical implementation. So I think there's some seats available for everybody. We don't want too many people, because otherwise we won't be able to talk to everybody and have their feedback and their interest being captured and responding to their question. But I think there's seats available here.
Can I ask a question? Maybe this is all of you. Is that are we seeing regulation across the world being standardized at all, or is it still too early when it comes to generative AI?
I don't know what Kevin is saying on his side of the equations. We're saying common problems, issues across the world, like data being not there. So you plug in a generative AI behind it, and the information generated by the generative AI is actually wrong or as I said, bias, or it's not really the answer that you were expecting. So having the data in your hand formatted precisely in a way that actually makes sense is important. So our AI connecting to a Hinfact solution that's why we like working with training management systems, because they format the data very well for us, so we can actually make the analysis behind it. So that problem is very clearly identified. The other problem is on the AI governance side of things. The US has a more relaxed approach recently to AI governance, being politically correct here a little bit, compared to the US. So that needs to be compared to Europe, for example. So yes, there is some differences, but I think those are real problems that needs to be addressed specifically. And so you tend to have generic issues like the data formatting side of things, the data availability, and how to get that data. And then there's for each region of the world, some governance that tends to change a little bit. So
APATS is like a forum for bringing people together to discuss these important issues. We'll come to Kevin very shortly, but Marty, what is your perspective on that question?
Yeah, Cedric, I'm going to be very curious to hear how the discussions go during the AI workshop at the APATS. I think you were right on the mark that Europe and EASA in particular are a little bit ahead of what the FAA, read into that what the US is doing in terms of AI for training in the civil aviation community. So again, it's going to be interesting to get a data point and a check on how the different regulators are harmonizing, how they're synchronizing their efforts. Recently, the FAA came out with information that they're working with the EASA and other global regulators in the eVTOL community. So again, I think we're waiting for that other foot to drop on what's happening with collaboration, synchronization, discussions about AI. And again, I think that'll come up during the APATS AI workshop.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what is important is to use the EASA model of deploying AI into aviation training literally as a model.
Right.
We work closely with them on a couple of meetings at the ATPG meetings over there to define those rules, and we're coming up with an interesting framework that will be released probably toward the end of the year. At the workshop, we may want to give people an aperçu of what it is going to be, like just a snapshot of what it is, and see how we can use that model, and then maybe we'll improve it between APATS and the end of the year. But the thing that is important is to use this as a model. So there is aviation regulation all around the world. You can have that as a certainty. You have AI governance pretty much all around the world. You can use that as well now pretty solidly. Some of them are more restrictive than others. And it's how you combine those two to actually provide, at the end of the day, safe training that are going to produce safe pilots, that are going to be efficient, that are going to be within the EBT, CBTA framework if you're using that model, or if you are going to be an AQP side or a more traditional training environment. So those combinations is what you're looking for to implement, and not being necessarily fixed about, oh, it's EASA or it's FAA. At the end of the day, it needs to actually work for you, the operator, and make sure that it's actually a safe environment and for you and for the pilot, and then the data is produced by the AI is actually meaningful and useful. Otherwise, why doing it?
Thank you, Cedric. Kevin, we'll come to your company and what you're doing, but I mean, I think we're interested in your perspective, because presumably you're trying to sell across the world. I mean, what is your perspective on the regulation side?
Yeah, so thank you everyone for. I'm really happy to be here. So in terms of regulation, I kind of course agree with what Cedric said. I think we have common problems everywhere, mostly about structuring data, which is paramount if you want to do AI, and it's something definitely people. This is not the bright side of the story, that you have to clean and gather data that much to have some powerful AI application, but this is the reality. So you have this structured data problem, you have these privacy questions, and of course in Europe we are quite EASA is quite let's say a bit more. You have some cultural difference between Europe and the rest of the world in terms of privacy, so we have those. So I would say everyone is trying to tackle that question. Some might be over-regulating and maybe slowing down a bit adoption too. But I see just a common front to bring AI and all those benefits everywhere. At least everyone agrees on that. But the rate and the approach might be different. But it's just cultural difference for me.
Great. Thank you for that insight, Kevin. So please tell us about your company, and there's kind of fascinating history. I saw that, and what your products are today and services are today.
Basically, Hinfact, founded in 2018. We are in the south of France, in Toulouse, and we were founded by engineers and 3 researchers in human factors. So basically, we're a spin-off from a human factor lab. In this lab, we study, we call that critical operators. And of course, pilots are preferred ones. So basically, we put them in simulators, aircraft, and we try to study their brain, their stress, their strengths, their weaknesses. How can they handle complex situation? So 20 years of studying. This is really our background. We come from there, and from there we decided, okay, how can we bring value to the industry? How can we get this this knowledge and technology out of the lab? So a lot of experience in data analysis, for sure, machine learning, AI. But to be totally transparent, what we really discovered when we start meeting with instructors, head of training, is that the world of training was mostly pen and papers, and the most advanced one were using Excel files, 99% of their tasks. So when you want to do data analysis with pen on papers and Excel, it's kind of a real challenge. So we go back again to what Cédric said of how can we structure those data just to have, let's say, if you want an average grade across your trainees, you need some kind of just somewhere where all the grading are stored. And honestly, this is not the case. We've met with a lot of airlines now. We try to operate all over the world. We address airlines, ATOs, flight school. And so this is for me the first challenge we tried to address, I would say 2020, 2021, bringing a whole solution, a whole training management system to first help you structure that data. So the whole idea is how can you make this digital transition for your instructors, for your training designers, for your managers. So how do you move instructors that love to have their maybe pen, little notebook in the sim, in flight? How can you move them from this to a more digital way to capture grading, capture live observation, competency, maybe observable behavior? So how can you help them structure their day-to-day training? So, and this is really for us a strategy. If you capture from the beginning data in a structured way, you don't have to pay someone in the basement to clean all that data after. So you can have some machine learning models that start to do some intelligent stuff. So some dashboards and analytics really please everyone when they start having them just automatically updated without waiting for weeks and months sometimes. But then the more and more data you have, you can bring more and more powerful AI automation. So you can start recommended exercise, adapting training in real time. And this is where I think the real benefits of all of that is.
So you sell your training management software to various airlines, and are you seeing an ability to kind of, I could be a pilot at one airline and take my data to another?
Yeah, so very interesting question, and honestly, it came very, very soon in the development, and also because some airlines, some big group of airlines work already together and kind of share their pilots. So what we did is that we have a very solid privacy and isolated environment for our customers. So they have their own data and they are very much protected. But if they ask us, we can connect them to other users of Hinfact training or training management system, and they can share any data that we have. And this is so for us, it was kind of obvious because we work with database, we work with data, but we also realized that legacy training management system, they were more around storing scanned documents, or for the most advanced using forms, dynamic forms. So that was the normal, let's say, before. But now that we're using a whole system, is just have a database basically behind, we can create secure tunnel and share data. So you want to share a course, you want to share just a scenario, you want to share a pilot logbook, you can.
Yes. So I guess this is a question to everyone, really. I mean, Kevin, you mentioned maybe the culture of instructors and paper, it's a bit stereotypical, paper and pen, but are we seeing maybe where there's a realization, well, this is going to happen and it's about getting on board now, or there must be cultural issues, especially with such safety critical training involved?
Yeah, so I would say And honestly, I understand the change management challenge, because myself, I love to write and draw on paper. But the thing is, and I would say it's easier for the younger generation, which was born with a smartphone and iPads in their hand. But the vast majority of instructors were really used throughout their whole career to write down on paper. Some of them like the iPads or other digital tool. They do accept and realize that at some point you have to send the data into a system and they have to be processed and checked. So they understand and realize the idea is how you help them transition as smoothly as possible. And so there is a bit of education to show them the benefits. Okay, if you feel your grading, if you observe directly on the iPad, you will not have to spend 1 hour in your office to fill those lengthy forms by yourself because you are asked to. So this is some kind of benefits that helps transition. But then when they also see on their iPad some recommendation or very smart, for example, it feels automatically something for them when they feel the benefit by themselves because they were using the tool, it also helps a lot. So I would say be present, explain, show the benefits, put a lot of focus on the user experience. I'm a strong advocate to make them transition, and they are key. For us, they are key because this is where most of the data is collected at the beginning from instructor in training session. So we put an immense amount of effort to convince them.
I'll just, maybe this is an associated question. I guess the airlines need to consider this sort of data as a strategic asset, and that's a cultural thing. I mean, maybe again, perhaps you'd like to, Cedric, talk about that.
Oh, I was just saying that I entirely agreed with Kevin, actually, and we both work in the same direction on. There's no argument about that. I would say that the EBT and CBTA framework has stressed that ability to capture data even further. Like the number of time we see in the airline or in an ATO grades that are actually 3 or 4 with no explanation next to it about, and then you realize that as a candidate goes in and you got grade of 3 or 4, and then the comments, when there is a comment, which is very rare, 4, and then the candidate didn't achieve ILS to standards. Well, then it's, there's a discrepancy being scoring someone a 4 and then writing the fact that the candidate didn't actually achieve the ILS. All of this, the AI and is able to actually help those instructors. And I think that's what we have to actually tell people at the moment is, one, you can trust the AI in certain circumstances if you do it well and if you design it well. And then 2, you have to actually, once you trust that, the information that is going to be provided to you will actually make things consistent across the board. Your pilots will be safer, your instructor will be better, everything will actually have a bit of a, we have the vicious circle in the negative way. Here we will have a virtuous circle where everything gets to a point where you actually get the thing. But EBT and CBTA is a tough order. 73 observable behaviors, 9 competencies across 9 phases of flights. 200 plus subtask every time you fly. You imagine the matrix that is calculated. Without AI, you wouldn't be able to do it. Without Kevin capturing that data, without APC doing some analysis behind it, AI is pretty much the only thing that we can rely on at this point.
Marty, in terms, you've got you look not just at airlines but across military and safety critical. Are you seeing similar kind of trends? I know certainly I was lucky enough on the last one of AI in Action, where on the military side there is a recognition you need to collect data in the first place. So Niall Campion from Vraise made the nice point that it's a bit like the wind. Once it's gone by, you can never capture it again. So you've got to capture it while you can. Marty, what your view?
Andy, I think we're seeing the imperative for data collection for AI across all the 3 verticals, military, civil aviation, as well as safety critical. In fact, an article that I just posted to our SCT Halldale website on training for port operations, terminal workforce members, talked about the imperative for not only data, but also for AI. So again, we're seeing it. Again, I would put the military maybe a little bit ahead of where civil aviation is right now on data collection. US only perspective, I'm sure that's going to evolve as different military training enterprises embrace AI. But again, that's just a quick snapshot. Kevin, a question I have for you, kind of watching Hinfact evolve over the last few years. You know, you've mentioned a few times this morning, you talked about airlines, you talked about instructors and such, but I also noticed that Hinfact has a customer roster at what I'll call the higher tiers, the higher echelons. You have ENAC, you have Airbus. So again, it sounds like you have kind of a whole of enterprise customer focus for your portfolio.
No, yes, that's true. I don't honestly. I think it. So regarding ENAC, for example, they are, just for context, they are very close to the lab where we come from. So they were strong partners from the beginning, which is also true for Airbus, which is not that far from us. But we have I think we have a vision of next generation trainings that seduced, honestly, Airbus. So we were. So if you goes back 6 years, 7 years from now, we were a young company with just our vision and our. We wanted to bring, as I said, all of that technology out of the lab, and we met some really impressive person from my perspective at Airbus. They have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and they were able to, I think, see what we wanted to do, and they started very, very soon with us. So it was quite a challenge because they have a very, also in training, for Airbus training is very, very strong in terms of presence and experience. They have the workforce and the ability to create very deep EBT and CBTA programs. So they push the limit of the regulation, and they even participate for sure to write that regulation. So it was and it's still a great partner to work with. And no, yeah, it's of course it's a great partnership to have those customers with you when you're building a TMS.
And Kevin, I mean, I'm really interested in the human factors background you've come from. Are there new data sources, new sensors perhaps you put on humans or pilots, or are there new sources of data that are of interest to you?
Yeah, so what we do there is a difference in what we call subjective and objective data. So when we talk about subjective, it's data that was captured about one human, about other humans. So when I'm an instructor observing you and kind of evaluating or judging you, we're call that subjective, because so for the exact same situation, two persons can have two different subjective assessments, right? But when they are expert instructor, it's highly valuable, especially because they are trained, they have hours of piloting and training. So it's a very strong data, which is not to be forgotten. But there is also objective data. And in the lab, in human factor and in neuroergonomics, which is a part of ergonomics, where you study also brain functioning and body functioning, we capture a lot of physiological data. So for example, we can capture cardiac activity, ocular activity, brain activity from electrical brain activity. So in the lab, we do that every day. We put some crazy scenarios. We kind of torture pilots, putting them in aircraft, putting some smoke and like very unlikely scenario, but it gives us data to analyze. Okay, what's the limit of the human? Okay, when there are some tests when you apply a force on a wing, and you just do that to see when it will crack, right? So we kind of do the same with pilots. There is a safety pilot for sure every time, but we have the envelope of human performance. So all of those data, and when we created the company, we thought, oh, we're going to bring all of those data analysis to training. It's going to help the training for sure. And as I said, we realized, okay, this might be a bit too soon. We need this digital transition to happen before doing that. And there is already plenty of stuff to do with subjective data. But what is sure is that you have all those simulator sessions, all of those data from aircraft. If someone would be able to capture that, and we have some advanced product will do that, and specifically in the military for French people. So I also agree on what Marty said, but operational performance is quite different in terms of objective in the military. But the idea is that when you start combining subjective data with context, with objective data, such as was the pilot pushing, where was he looking, without adding any perturbation in the flow of training, you can do some very, very interesting stuff, and you can even see some things that instructor can have a hard time see. For example, when you are behind in a simulator, so you have two pilots, you are behind, you don't really see what they are doing. So there are a lot of OBs and technical, Cedric and I said, hundreds of OBs, a lot of competencies, tasks and subtasks. Some of them can be automated. So when you capture the data and you put AI there, you start automating detection of all those things instructor have to detect. So you help them, and they can be more aware of, more focused on where human has a lot of value, non-technical skills. So communication, leadership, teamwork, situation awareness, they can focus on that. And the system and the AI can measure, okay, was the procedure done in the right order? Was the rotation rate enough? So you can bring a whole solution like that. But there is a lot of data still to be uncovered and analyzed for sure.
We're saying AI is going to decide where we need humans. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yes. So no, this is a yeah.
No, I mean it's quite likely, isn't it?
The idea the way we approach this question is that I don't think any algorithm can decide whether a pilot is good enough or not. Our platform, the way it's developed is, okay, let's say I'm a training manager or I'm an expert in, I don't know, unstabilized approach. It's not Hinfact or the AI that decide whether it's good or not, but you can enter some threshold and rationale and heuristics in the system, and AI will just apply them on the data. So AI is not deciding, is not judging, evaluating, it's applying all the knowledge you've put in the platform. So whether it's you can have some very simple threshold, could be useful, but this is not the AI that sets the threshold. It's just applying this knowledge at any data point in time, so the instructor can observe with his experience and all of his knowledge. Plus, he has this automated analysis with him, but it's like experts being with him at any moment. So that would pop up to him not as a flow of continuous data coming from the sim or physiological data. That would be really useless from my perspective, but that would be, okay, there is one event, the approach is quite unstabilized from our perspective as an expert that enters that data into the system. Do what you want with that, but I'm just telling you. There is a metaphor we like a lot, is the medical metaphor. We think AI can be a very strong MRI or scan, but you need a doctor to put the diagnosis. And we really want to be a strong, powerful tool, but the diagnosis is for the instructor.
That's a very nice analogy. Thank you.
Real quick question for Kevin. You mentioned objective data, you mentioned the laboratory applications, developments and such. How far away are we then for the average training organization, whether it's an ATO, an airline or other, to more fully embrace that other category, the objective data, whether it be measuring eye scan, pulse rate, heart rate? Is that a bridge too far at this point, or do you see that happening in the next, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Short answer would be we are not that far in terms of technology, but the road to put objective data into your process and system, So first you have to do this digital transition I was speaking of. And honestly, a lot of airlines are doing that. So the biggest airline are way above that transition, but there is still a lot of work. And so you need some good process, you need some good data, you need some good machine learning framework that is running and adopted and accepted by your instructor. So I would say that there are still a few years until most of airlines are like that. So that would be the first step. And then when you have all of that, what you really need is, okay, when you want to do EBT and CBTA, so you have today almost everyone does the same training, which is a bit of a shame from my perspective. So when you want to adapt training for everyone, you have a lot of sources. So you have a worldwide feedback from the industry, from IATA, from ICAO. You have your other department that gives you free feedback. So you have trainings that have feedback on itself. How can we improve our own training? But you can also discuss with your safety department. They see some information in the operational data in the sky, so they can have an impact on your training. And you have individual needs. So each pilot, they have their own strengths and weaknesses. So you want to adapt that for everyone. So I think this road is also a bit, there is still a few steps from there. And then I would say, then you can start talking about connecting to the SIM and getting some objective data, connecting to the safety management system to have some automatic pipeline. And then after you can start talking about, okay, let's put some device to measure pilot activity. So short answer again is that technology speaking, so we were ready in 2020. Honestly, we did our first proof of concept at INAC based on that. But I think there is a change management process, and our industry is very safe because it adopts slowly and nicely processes, and I learned that, and I think it's a good thing. So not that far, but we still need to turn the ship a bit, which is quite a large one.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
So we're nearly coming to an end now of our discussion. I'd just like to say a final few words. Cedric, is there anything else you'd just like to add? Maybe has this changed what you're going to put in the workshop, or?
No, I think what we're going to put in the workshop is pretty much answering what Kevin just described. Actually, trying to what's going to enable AI in aviation training. So, go through the steps and look at what risk you are actually taking to deploy an AI solution into your flight training organization, be 20 students or be 200 students, be in an airline, or and that is going to actually show quite a fair bit of, like everything Kevin just described there, is going to actually pop up as, oh, okay, I need to think about this. I need to think about that. I've got this issue to resolve in my organization, but another organization say, okay, I've addressed this. Now I need to address the other concern that is actually listed there. So there's going to be a realization for everybody where they can implement it, what tools, and then if they decide to buy a tool, which a lot of organizations do, what do they need to actually look for into that tool? From GDPR protection to AI governance to tracking, for example, how the AI generated that information to be able to actually validate that information if it's being challenged. So all of this little details are going to show up into this workshop, and hopefully everybody that will come out of the workshop will have a good idea of what they need to do, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting that just this workshop will actually create an acceleration in AI adoption, but at least within our community of around the Halldale world, people that are going to attend, there will be a clear plan for them to move forward with this and adopt an Hinfact solution, an Airline Pilot Club solution, or any solution that actually meet their requirements. And some of them may come out and say, no, I'm going to stick with my Excel format because it's been working for me and I don't need to actually go there. But some
So,
others may say,
yeah.
hey,
So it's like
what
this
is it?
Halldale series, AI in Action. We're trying to help people navigate this
Yeah,
fast-moving world.
in a
It's a
practical way.
journey. It is a journey.
It
And
is.
Kevin,
Yeah.
would you like to just finally say a few words of around that idea of a journey, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely your journey, and I think you can wrongly, well, you might hope to be at the end when you just started, which to see the full benefits of AI, you need some strong processes, data collection, which needs some good tools. And this journey comes with a lot of learning. And I think Cedric is one of the guys providing some great learnings at APATS. So yeah, I'm really looking forward adoption for that, because I'm sure we will increase even more safety and performance. So very glad. What a time to be alive, as someone said.
Well, it's always a good time to be alive, I think. But especially as you get older. But I think it is truly exciting of being some older person. And Marty, is there anything you'd just like to add at the end of that?
Yeah, I
point?
truly wish, Andy, with all the progress being made, it is a journey for AI, it's a journey for any high risk training enterprise. What I do wish is that there was more crosstalk, very smart, very knowledgeable people, two of which are here, Kevin and Cedric. I wish there was a way that we could more fully link them up, more regularly link them up with their counterparts, not only in the military, but also some of the adjacent high risk industries, whether it be for oil and gas training, commercial maritime. There does need to be more crosstalk. And again, I hope that Halldale is going to be a platform for getting the word out on what happens at APATS in the AI arena to the broader community. So again, I think a lot of work to do, but again, I think we need to tap into the expertise of the two gents we have here and others working AI.
Absolutely, Marty. In fact, our next episode will be back to defence because we're doing a DSEI special. So that's a big arms show in London in September. So we'll be pushing that out in August again with people who are exhibiting there, but also hopefully the organisers as well, because there's more and more training and simulation going into the wider defence world, because it seems to me it's all about data in action, really, rather than AI. But so thank you, everyone. That was fascinating. My background's not civil aviation, apart from the fact I occasionally go on an aircraft, so I've got that. That is of interest around it also with recent events. It's obviously very serious. So I wanted to thank Marty, the group editor, Cedric Pallard, who's going to be doing the AI workshop at APATS, and Dr. Kevin, who's told us all about what he's doing in the Hinfact company and what they're going to be showing at APATS. So this has been really interesting. For those going, I hope you have a fantastic time there. It's obviously going to be incredibly important attending, and it sounds like you're going to learn a lot. So thank you very much, everyone. And thank you also, Patrick, who's our show producer, and see you in August.